So there are some techniques I like to use for reading. And what I like about these techniques is that you don't have to know a lot of difficult grammar. You don't have to memorize a lot of difficult vocabulary. Actually, to do this technique, you don't have to study a lot of boring English at all. It's very simple, but I think it's very useful. And the technique I want to talk about today is called making guesses. And actually, people make guesses a lot in everyday life, but I think for reading especially, we can think more about how to make a good guess. And it can help us find more information when we're reading something, especially something that's difficult, like a text in English. For me, it would be a text in Japanese because I'm not very good at reading Japanese. So one of the first things that helps us make a good guess is knowing the type of text, knowing the genre. For example, I wrote some text types on the board: email, article, story, and menu. And before we even start reading, when we just see this word, email or story or article, we can guess a lot about what is inside this text. For example, in an email, I can guess that it must be to some person. It also must be from some person. And there must be some kind of a subject. And then maybe there's a huge chunk of text. Actually, I really like email questions because there's so much information at the very top. It's so convenient. And how about an article? An article is a little more difficult, but I know that there's always some title at the top. And usually after the title, there's a really big chunk of text. But I can usually guess that there's something important at the very beginning. So in this first line here, maybe the topic is right here. And also for a story, I can guess there will be some people. Maybe some people talking to each other, and maybe there's even some kind of a problem or some conflict. And a menu is also a very simple text. We see it very often, usually every week. And I know that with every menu, there's going to be some different types of food and some prices. Or actually, if it's in yen. So I'm sure this explanation is very simple, but actually this is a lot of information that I can guess before I even read the text. Even if I just see the word email, I can guess that I will see to somebody, from somebody, the subject, and then the text. I know that a lot of this information might seem very simple, but I think that making guesses can really help a difficult reading question seem a little bit less scary. For example, imagine you had some really huge, scary text to read, and I'll make a really scary text. So wow, this is really long. It looks really difficult. But I can definitely know some things about it just by making some guesses. For example, it's probably an article because it looks like this. So here's the title, and that will probably tell me what's the main topic of the article. And I also know that there's probably an important sentence at the beginning here. And since there are 3 sections, there's probably a different topic for each section. And the important sentence is always at the beginning. I think what a lot of people do is maybe it's a test question and they feel like they don't have enough time, so they just start at the beginning. They start just here. And they start reading and they find a difficult word and they think, oh no, I don't understand this word. I can't understand the article. What should I do? I'm lost. I don't know how to answer any questions about this article. But in fact, I think you can understand a lot of information about something, even if you don't understand every word. So I changed the board. We talked before about some guesses that we can make from the type of text. For example, if we know it's an email, an article, story, or a menu, and so on. Now I want to talk about some guesses that we can make from after we've read the first sentence or the second sentence. So what can we know about the article or the text after we already read a little bit? So I added some new words, and maybe you already know them, maybe they're a little bit new. One thing we can know, usually just from the first sentence, is the topic. So, what is this text about? For example, in an email, the topic is usually very easy. We have to, from, and then we have this line, and usually the topic is right here. And for an article, it's usually the title or the first sentence. Another thing that we can know very early is the tone. And the tone means, is something informal or is it formal? Is it very polite or is it friendly? For example, look at these 2 first lines for an email. An email that begins, "Dear Sir," is obviously very formal. Maybe it's business. I think probably it's not a friend, not somebody I know very well. An email that begins, "Hey buddy," is obviously very friendly. Probably the writer is a young person. Probably it's 2 friends in the email. Conflict is not in every type of text. There is no conflict in a menu, obviously. There could be conflict in a story, an article, or an email. So when I think about conflict, I think about these characters again. Maybe 2 people, and they're both angry, they're both yelling. They have some kind of a conflict. And a conflict can be people, like in a story. It could also be about ideas. Like new against old, or it could be me and my opinion against you and your opinion. So this is what we would see in an article, most likely. And finally, there's the goal. Usually this is in an article or an email. The goal is the question, why is the writer writing this text? It's also the purpose or the aim or the reason. So in an email, for example, it could be information, it could be a request, there could be some problem. So, for example, in a request for information, you might see, can you tell me something? So questions like this can tell you what is the goal of the email. And next, we're going to do an example where we look for these things after reading the first few sentences of an article. Okay, so we talked a lot about how to read. Let's practice with a real article. And if you are a normal person, the first thing you think when you see this is, oh my gosh, this is a lot of text. So actually, let's cover the text for now, so it's less scary. And we're only going to read the beginning, like maybe this much. So let's start reading a little bit and see if we can find the topic, the tone, the conflict, and the goal. I'm a little mean because this article is just article. It doesn't have a real title. But maybe there are some times in real life when the title is a word that's difficult or you don't really understand it and you can't get much information from the title. So just imagine that there is a title, but we can't get any information from it. So because this is an article, there's a lot of text, but actually beginning at the first sentence is a good idea because usually we can find the topic in the first sentence. So let's start reading and see what we find. Despite the way it feels, losing weight isn't a process. I don't know this word, but maybe I can guess it later. So actually, we have the topic. It's losing weight. Okay, good. One down. Let's read the next sentence. It's a simple matter of burning more calories than you eat. Okay, so we know losing weight isn't this. It's a simple matter. So probably this word is the opposite of simple. Maybe it's difficult. Let's read one more sentence. But if it really were that simple, none of us would have a weight problem, would we? Okay, now we've read 3 sentences, and I'm beginning to see both the tone and the conflict. The tone feels very informal to me. It uses this rhetorical question here. None of us would have a weight problem, would we? And mostly the words are rather small, and I don't see a lot of big numbers or really long scientific words. So I'm going to say that the tone is informal or friendly. And I think I see a little bit of conflict here too, or at least I can guess the conflict. Most people think weight loss is difficult, but it's really simple. And let's read a little bit more and see if we can find the goal. Weight loss can be such a struggle that we start thinking we have to do something drastic to see results. Diets, pills, blah, 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 other examples. So we don't have to do these things. The true secret to weight loss is this. Oh, that sounds important. The true secret. Make small changes each and every day, and you'll slowly but surely lose that extra weight. So I think this is important for the author. It's the true secret. Make changes. Okay, let's stop reading because I think we have a good idea of the article now. Based on this first paragraph, I think the author wants to tell people some easy tips for losing weight, these small changes that can help people lose a lot of weight. So I'm going to make the goal explain. Explain how to lose weight. And now I'm going to make a guess for the rest of the article. It's rather long, and I expect that later in the article there will be some tips on how exactly to make these small changes. So let's see what the rest of the article actually says. If I can move this a little. Let's look at the bottom half. Oh, and here, about halfway down, I see what looks like some tips. I see 1, 2, 3, and 4. Calculate, calculate, keep track, and add. This looks like tips to me. So, in summary, we read the first part of the article, we made some guesses, and now we have a pretty good idea of what kind of information is in the article. And if we need to answer some questions, maybe we know where to look for the information. So next time you have to read something for work or on the street or for a test, remember, you know more than you think you know. Sometimes making a good guess can help you more than knowing all the vocabulary and all the grammar.